Now that we've covered the basics of the ribbon, let's go over a couple of features and how it works. The first thing, we're going to go back to the home ribbon, and when Excel is maximized, you see a lot of the icons for the buttons here in full size. The alignment has all the commands as icons within it. Well, one thing I do want to show you is if for whatever reason your Excel area gets shrunk as you go, you'll see some of these sections start to shrink up too. And notice now the alignment section is shrunk up. If I click the arrow underneath it, I'll get all my previous commands that were in the expanded section. Just don't want that to freak you out. If you're looking on the Home tab to see all these, Excel might be minimized and you may not see all the commands right away. We'll go ahead and expand it out again. The next thing we're gonna talk about is the little icon at the corner of each section. In the clipboard section, the font section alignment, you see this little arrow down here? I'm going to click that one for the font and show you. When I click that, I get a dialog box. I get the Format Cells dialog box. Now, for those of you who are used to earlier versions of Excel, 2003 and before, this will look pretty familiar. This was the Format Cells as it was in older versions, where you've got the number, format, alignment, font, etc. So each one of these sections has a little drop down where you can go and look at the commands in a dialog box, if you will. Another feature of the ribbons is that they can also be dynamic, and that means that they can change based on where you are. What we've seen right now, what we've looked at, are the standard menus of ribbons that are available pretty much wherever you are in Excel. But as you put different things in your workbook, you can get different ribbons that apply to just that. In our spreadsheet we're looking at here, we have a drawing object and a chart. So let's look at our drawing object. Let's click on it. Now what happened is, if you see up here, I got a special section, a dynamic ribbon that came up for drawing tools and format. Now these particular items in this ribbon will pretty much specifically apply to this drawing object we put in. I can put in different shapes, shape styles, word art, all the things that apply to that drawing object. Likewise, if I've inserted a chart, if I click on that chart, now I've got 3 ribbons having to do with charting tools. I've got a design ribbon, a layout ribbon, where I can change the axes, the data labels, all sorts of things, and a format, another format tab for that object. But when I click off of both of these objects, I'm back to my standard ribbons. The chart and the drawing ribbons will not appear unless I've got those selected. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about on ribbons is how to hide them. Although I do think ribbons are very useful, once you get used to them, they're pretty fast to click on things. They take up a lot of room in Excel, though. I actually have a netbook, and using Excel 2010 on the netbook, this ribbon takes up about 1/4 of the area we have for Excel. So luckily, there's a way to hide that ribbon and have it just come up when you click on the menu. If I right-click anywhere in this ribbon area, I can go down here and I can just click minimize the ribbon. And now I get a little bit more real estate on my screen, but when I click on a menu, my ribbon will still come up and I get the full functionality of all the features. This is kind of the way I like to set up my Excel. Again, just because when I'm not trying to get a command, I get a little bit more room on my screen. So that's about it for the ribbons. There is one last thing I'd like to add, though. In 2007, when they came out with ribbons, you couldn't modify them at all, which was kind of a big complaint with a lot of people, because we used to be able to modify menus and toolbars. Well, 2010 has married the best of both worlds. You can have your standard ribbons, and this is one I've actually made myself. You can customize ribbons and make your own ribbons so that you can again start to modify your interface based on what you're trying to do with Excel. We'll get into how to do that in another lesson, but it's a really welcome addition that they let you modify the ribbons now in Excel 2010. That's about it for ribbons. Move on to the next section and we'll learn a little bit more about the Excel interface.